I'm Dr. Jordan Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. I would love to start with shame, and I want to talk about a few things that we see commonly in the pleasure collective, and that's women changing their names to join our private community because they're embarrassed. They don't know if they're going to know anyone in there.
Really? That's happening, Joe? I didn't even know that.
All the time. So one of our current group, and I won't say her name because obviously, so big corporate job in our current group, and is actually joining the mentorship with us on Monday. Changed her name, and it happens all the time. So we go to, Amber and I go to onboard them, and we've received a payment from somebody
with a different name.
So we get a name, like we have a name in the group, and we're interacting with this person back and forth with their pleasure mentor. And then they're like, yeah, okay, I'm in. And then we get like 3 payments that day, and there's a name that doesn't match. And this has happened 5 or 6 times. Can you believe it?
Wow.
I can believe it. I would probably be that person.
GG.
But let's talk about that. And you made a great point about LinkedIn.
Right.
More, yeah, I would say more for me on LinkedIn, but I understand when I hear this. My first reaction was Casey's, which is, what? People do that? And then I'm thinking, yeah, I'm part of this team, and you're one of my dearest friends, and I don't comment or like anything that you put on LinkedIn.
And why? Because
for me, that is that first, I'm not defending myself. It sounds like I am, but for me in sales, I live on LinkedIn, and a lot of my content is on LinkedIn, and a lot of people know me because of my presence. And so I feel like, A, I don't love the intersection of personal and business on LinkedIn, but B, this is way too personal. And my fear around it is, well, what if a prospective client were to see that this is the kind of content that I'm commenting on or engaged in, and what kind of judgment would I get from them? And would I potentially lose a piece of business because of that? And it's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. But that's
it's the patriarchy.
It is.
Say more, Casey.
You want me to say more about the patriarchy, Joe? Yeah, it's that desexualization of women because it's so uncomfortable. It's women, and Gigi, even thinking about you and your situation, like, it's a bit of a man's world, right?
No, more than a bit. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
It is a man's world.
It is a man's world, especially in an industry like sales, or if you work in like a more PC industry, like HR, where you always have to toe the line, or, and it's not something that, men have a high comfort level with, is women embodied in their sexual response. Everything's based on that male sexual response. And there are sexual, there are sexual things that are acceptable in a man's world. Like, there's been the whole Me Too movement because of that. And that's okay. Like, it's been the standard for industry forever. But now they're getting called out on that. But women have never been able to like fully embody their sexuality and their feminine presence, not even sexuality, like just their feminine presence.
But what's funny about that is that I don't even think, when I was saying what I was saying earlier, it wasn't even in my head about the men because most of my target market are women. I mean, yes, in my industry specifically and my role in sales, my peers and colleagues tend to be males. But the people that I target in the benefits world are generally females. So
Yeah.
my thought is, exactly because of this conversation, because other women judge other women, which, God, when are we going to end that? Right.
Yes.
That is my bigger fear around
Which is still the patriarchy.
Oh, completely influencing.
Women
yes.
judging women is still the patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's us being pitted against each other versus supporting one another. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like we're culturally set up to fail or fear the judgment or fear what other people think. So let's unpack this shame thing a little bit more. And shame was a new concept for me somewhat recently, maybe 5 years ago. It wasn't something that I was taught. So shame is the idea, for those that, we throw the word around, but what does it really mean? There's something wrong with me. I am bad. Versus guilt, which is I did something bad. And let's talk about, we're worried about women shaming us or seeing us interact with content like this, when in our rational brains, our logical brains, we know that there is at minimum 50-50 chance that that woman is also suffering from sexual dysfunction and needs this work and needs this information. So rationally, we can say, like, hey, I'd probably, if we could have a drink and talk about this without the patriarchy, without the conditioning, I would probably actually get 10 more sales because I also just helped her fix her libido problem or her pain with sex or whatever. But it's that initial fear, it's that initial shame. And it generally comes from when we're kids, I think, and I would love to hear both of your opinions, but the shame is from when we're young and like we don't have a filtering system yet to say like, ooh, like I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable. I don't like this feeling that's being put on me, but we're too little and we can't rationally think about it. So it's just this like conditioned response that we have. We're not thinking about it logically. So experiences of shame as a woman, let's talk about ours. Sexual, period shame. Lately, I'm in the mom shame world where it's like, don't rock your baby to sleep, breastfeed your baby, don't breastfeed your baby too long. Are you loving your baby too much?
So much mom shame.
So much
mom shame is overwhelming. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
That's hard to tune out.
We'll get back to that one on another day. But like, is there an experience that stands out from childhood, going through puberty, maybe in the workplace with the sexual shame stuff? Can we think of something?
Gigi, I love that you just raised your hand.
I mean, childhood stuff, I couldn't point to one memory. I would just say generally, growing up in a very conservative Catholic household with two older brothers, for me, it was more about just not fitting into the traditional path, right? Both of my brothers married their college girlfriends. They were both married in their mid-20s. They both started having kids, and that was never my path. So I felt shame just within my own family of like, what are you doing with your life? It didn't make sense to anyone. So I always felt like a misfit in my own family. But I would say more related to sexual shaming is back to my career, right? I'm in sales, moved to New York City from California, which was totally different in the way people present themselves and dress, right? So I had so much fun. I moved to New York and I'm like, oh, I can ditch the like jeans and blazers. And now I'm wearing heels and dresses and just feeling so powerful in my femininity. And and being so well received, right? Because it's New York, and that's how everyone, this is obviously way pre-COVID when men were still wearing suits and ties, and again,
Wait, you mean that's not happening in the streets of New York anymore?
Listen, I haven't worn anything but my golden goose for the last year plus. Like, I couldn't tell you last time I put a pair of heels on. In fact, we have this wedding tomorrow, and both Jamie and I were like, what are we wearing? We don't even remember what we have in our closets. He's like, you put a suit on. I'm like, you look so weird. I've never even seen you in a suit. Anyway, COVID just has completely changed fashion choices. Look at me, Lululemon all day, every day. But I distinctly remember being at my, so my headquarters is in Philadelphia, and I was there for a meeting, and I was very friendly with the head of communications, who was a woman. And I was struggling. I was really having a hard time closing deals. And she said to me, as your friend, and I love you, and I think you're amazing and beautiful, and I love the way you dress. She said, I wonder if you should tone it down, because you're meeting primarily with other women. And however she said it, I didn't take offense, because it was in such a loving way. And the reality is, you guys, she was right. And she was like, she kind of laughed. She's like, look at you. I had fishnet stockings on, a dress, and heels. I felt fucking great. I mean, I felt like I could, because I was also at my home office meeting with my peers who were men. So I walk into the boardroom and I'm like, I feel great, right? And her point was, that's fine. But when you're out in the world trying to bring in new business, and I mentioned it to another female colleague, friend, and she said, well, have you ever noticed the way I dress? Very simply, she said, I don't take my designer handbags with me. I have all these beautiful shoes and bags at home, but I don't dress like that. I take my little Coach purse and, my understated flats. And I'm like, fuck this. I was so mad, not at them, but just at the world. And the truth is, you guys, I did dial it down. And I don't know that I can say it made a difference, but I certainly have completely turned my success rate around and have very strong female relationships with the people that I sell into. But it just struck me as so unfair.
I had a visceral response while you were talking, because that, I'm self-employed, this corporate structure, hierarchy, and you are not the first person to tell me this. So this must be a thing, that the women more seasoned, maybe more senior in a company, are kind of whispering, like, maybe don't wear the red lipstick, or maybe, what?
Don't be too fabulous.
What the fuck? Like, why, again, do we do this to each other? And I get it, and this is a bigger thing to unpack, but it's this, don't be you, don't be too much, don't be in the spotlight. Definitely don't be in the spotlight for the wrong reasons or a sexual reason.
Don't draw attention to yourself.
Tone it down. Yeah.
Yep.
Work. And I remember thinking that too. And I even thinking of how I dressed at my office was very much more business-like at the beginning, like black blazer, that kind of thing. And it evolved over time. But what work have I done to not care? And also, if I see a woman with a designer bag and looking fabulous, I say, I'll have what she's having now. So I'm trying to think, how did I get there?
Well, Joe, I think we talk about this a lot in Pleasure Principles. It's the whole idea of, as women, we need to be self-sacrificing. As women, we need to be putting other people in front of ourselves. Why am I buying handbags and nice shoes? Why am I not, using that money and that why am I even being successful to begin with? Why am I not home with kids right now? It's the whole do for others first and for yourself last. And if you feel too embodied, too confident, it's almost like it's seen as, for us women, for men, that's what they want out of the masculine. They want them to own the room. and be that confident person. But when women come in with that type of confidence, it's like, who do you think you are?
And threatening.
Tone it down. Yeah, you're the little woman. So bring it down. And I think we all put ourselves in that box, and we're culturally taught to stay in that box, that's what an attractive woman is. That's the kind of woman that men want. And then when we see other women not playing that role, we fucking hate them. We're so fucking jealous.
We're triggered. Yeah, because it's like, she's doing what I want to do, but I don't feel like I have the permission.
There's nothing I love more than a woman who is unapologetic. I mean, that to me, I'm turned on by her, right?
Always.
Right. But, the average woman,
I love you two so much.
Right. And we love that in each other because we are that ourselves. Like, we're not coming from that lack mentality of, a lot of women don't think that they can have what we're having. Or, they would never have what we're having because, I'm not that kind of selfish person versus, Yeah. And it's also what you talk about with jealousy too, Joe, like, just reframing that idea of jealousy, because that's really what's happening a lot between women. Gigi, I am so sorry that happened to you. Like, I can see you in your fishnets and your heels and your badass self. And I miss her. I want to see her more.
Yeah, can we start bringing her back?
Like, I mean, just for the record, they were like classy fishnets and like a theory dress, not like...
We know that you're classy AF. Like, we know you weren't...
There's nothing that's not classy about Gigi.
I mean, there was no, S Factor costumes involved. I'm wearing Stuart Weitzman's in a theory dress. Like, how intimidating can I be?
Yeah, that's so crazy.
It was hard to hear for all of the reasons that you guys said. It was hardest to hear because I knew in my heart that she was right.
Yeah,
and I was just
that's the devastating part.
And I was just mad. I was just mad about society. I mean, it wasn't her. She was right. I did it. Even worse, I did it. I took her advice, but in my heart, I was upset because I was like, well, this is just fucking reality. And that's unacceptable. And I can't change it. I can't change it alone. We can change it together.
Right. Exactly. We have to change it together because we need to stop telling each other to tone it down. We need to be like, double down, girlfriend. Go for it.
Because if it's us, right? Us meaning empowered women. If it's us on the other side of the table, we're going, after the meeting's over, we're going, oh my God, where did you get those hose? I love those.
Right.
That dress is stunning on you. But like,
you look amazing. Yeah. Like, we're the cheerleaders on the side.
Yeah.
And would it be amazing to have those women in the boardroom with you too?
To have allies in the other women, not like seeing her as competition or as someone that's going to cut you down or not give you a sale because of your theory dress.
Right. Yeah.
And the weird thing is, which again is sad, is I feel like the older I get, then it lessens the threat, right? Because I'm not as hot as I used to be. So
and we can talk about ageism too, and women, and just how as we age, you end up like a dried fruit that no one wants instead of looking at it like a fine wine. Like, that one also drives me nuts.
Even Diane von Furstenberg, who is this amazingly successful woman, is like complaining about aging and, not being like, I'm a fucking badass. You should take notes.
Yeah.
Do you want some advice? Would you like to take any notes from me?
And it's funny because what that brought up for me is a couple times I've thought is like, oh, well, I'm a mom now, so people aren't going to be as threatened if I wear this.
I feel that too. When I walk around with Luca, he's like my buffer. Like, people aren't going to be able to judge me as hard because I'm a mom. And like
now they're
not going to be looking at me as much. Like, I'm safer. There's something about women being dangerous, that dangerous liaison, that, woman being dangerous and a threat. And that's good stuff.
Wow. Crazy. So tell me how this would work in corporate world. Um, if someone had that conversation with you today and you were like dressed in what made you feel good, the fabrics that felt amazing on your skin, is there a reframe? Is there a like, and not reacting, like not getting triggered back, but like reacting with love and openness and just, again, being embodied, grounded in your choices, your decisions? Like, could you ask these women, like, where is this coming from? Or like, oh, thanks for the feedback. Why did you feel the need to tell me this? Or something like, is there an avenue that we can start having these conversations?
I mean, I think there is. I feel like in these cases, they were genuinely believing that they were helping, and also felt the same way. My colleague who dials it down herself, understands that. But I would say my own personal experience, and Casey, I know you can relate to this, is that what changed a lot of that for me is doing S Factor. When we first met, right? We're in level 1, and I'm showing up to class in my yoga pants and a little sports bra, maybe
we
a
all were
t-shirt.
so covered up. We were so covered up at the beginning.
And we're in the communal changing room, and you're seeing these crazy outfits and women who are literally half naked, and some of them with amazing bodies and some of them with very normal bodies, and I was like, I'm jealous and I have mad respect. And it's like equal parts, right? And of course, the evolution, as you know, continued where we went from then. And then we were wearing like sweatshirts with hoods, cover our faces so we could get into our dance. And then obviously the next thing you know, we're all half naked also in our lucite 5-inch heels. But it was like that, those women inspired me to give myself that permission to do it. And Casey, I would say you were obviously one of them as well, where I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong? Like, why am I so worried about this? And why would I be jealous of these women? Why don't I embrace what they're embracing? And, eventually we all turned into that, right?
Yeah, that's such a wonderful example, Gigi, because like, when do you have a group of women who are sitting on the sidelines cheering you on while you're stripping your top off with a lacy bra underneath, and they're like howling like, yes, girl, just having that feminine support just makes you want to be even more embodied. It's like, I can go even further than this. Like, you like this, just you wait. But having those group of women on the sidelines that reflect it back to you, and they're embodied in their own, like they're getting up and doing their striptease too, and you're standing on the sidelines going, yes.
And it never had anything to do with like how pretty or skinny or what. It was just like every woman, every shape and size were equally
every age
and sexy. My God.
Yes.
Because
you realize
they had embodied and were empowered women, and that sexiness just came from within.
Yeah.
And in their own, unique ways, which is so fascinating to
right.
Watch.
Yeah, that is so true too. Like, all in our own styles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the shame. And as we're talking, I'm going through my head. So it's like, okay, shame about the way we dress. There's shame about our emotions. Like, don't be too much. Don't be too joyful, happy because you're crazy. Don't be too angry or bossy because you're a bitch. Don't want sex too much because you're a slut. So we have shame in the way we dress, shame about our bodies. So period shame.
Right. Just every single shame, like every single body part on women has shame, like our thighs, our toes, our like, and I know when, our butt, our boobs, and I do recall, like, when we started S Factor as well, Gigi, like I felt like I could not reveal my body unless it was perfect, unless there was no cellulite, unless my thighs were toned, unless my belly was flat. And, indeed seeing women giving themselves permission to love their body as is was mind blowing. And not just love their bodies as is, but like be embodied in them, be sexual, like have a belly and make it the sexiest fucking shit you've ever seen. And it's like, wow, I would love to touch that belly. It looks so enticing. And before I would have been like, you need a 6-pack. It's just so
and I feel
amazing.
like because of that, because those classes were filled with like-minded women, it was not a feeling of jealousy, which it could have been easily for me.
Yeah.
Instead, it was, like I said, mad respect, where I was like, God damn it. Like I said, the unapologetic woman, like,
yeah, so safe.
Your line, Joe, I'll have what she's having.
And I'm making this connection maybe for the third time, but I guess it is the 300th time, but it impresses me. So I guess what you're saying is to have that conversation with the woman when she's shaming the way you're dressed might not be how we change this, but we need things like S Factor. We need things like the Pleasure Collective, where we have groups of like-minded women that then we're changing the narrative there. Is that how we change it, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's an inside job, right? And so it's but if you surround yourself with, and that's the whole sisterhood piece,
right,
which was a game changer for all of us here on this call. And that's, to me, the essence of sisterhood. There's zero judgment, 100% acceptance, and cheerleaders, right?
Celebration.
The sidelines cheering you on, whatever it is that you're doing.
On that note,
yeah, and
go ahead, Casey.
Joe. Sorry, just to come back to sisterhood for a minute, because I do agree with Gigi. For me, it's like the key, and really creating it in the workplace is going to be a challenging place to create that type of safety and that kind of openness. But it's it's giving. It's that whole analogy of the piano, and God bless, we love the whole analogy of like, you only play one octave, and that's what you've played your whole life. You don't dabble in the higher keys because you get in trouble when you have emotions that range up there. You don't dabble in the lower keys because nobody can handle grief and depression, and don't make me feel uncomfortable. So you just play the one octave your whole life. And women need to be able to see other women playing other octaves. Women need to see each other. And we're not really necessarily going to be able to do that in the workplace so much unless an embodied woman comes into that workplace and is able to make connections with other women. But it is things like S Factor. It is things like Pleasure Principle, where we can share and witness women doing extraordinary things and then realizing I can do that too.
I love that. And I'm putting it out there, the Pleasure Collective's going corporate, because how can we literally do women's leadership without these tools and this understanding?
Yeah, and you need those moments.
I think we do. And I really think that like, if we always feel held back and in this box and we don't know how to break out of it, and we don't have the confidence and the communication skills and this acceptance of self, how can we ever wield power when we're waiting? We're stuck in being like, oh, well, when I'm good enough and I'm more educated, then they will ask me for a raise, or then I will be promoted. It's like we're waiting around for permission.
We're certainly not going to break the glass ceiling by waiting around for permission and for telling each other, tone it down.
Yeah, I've like angry goosebumps at that when you just said that.
Right.
Like, it's abrasive to me to think that we are still today telling women to tone it down.
Yeah. Do you think that conversation would ever happen with a group of sales guys who wore, cufflinks or fancy, Ferragamo tie or whatever, right? Like, oh, probably should take off that Hermes tie because you're going to intimidate who you're meeting with. Oh, hell no.
Right. No, they'd be told they look sharp. They'd be told they look like they've got killer instinct.
Wow, the double standards never cease to amaze me.
No, it's
Right.
2021. This shit's still happening.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to say to wrap on shame is one thing I know for sure is shame is not congruent with desire. Shame is not congruent with curiosity. And if you want big love, connection, mind-blowing orgasms, it is not going to come until we unpack the shame. And a quick way to do it is to figure out how shame feels in your body. Ask yourself, where did I learn this? Like, where is this feeling coming from? And what is a healthier belief? Obviously, a lot more there. Shame is something that we work on with women daily in Pleasure Principles, but those are some quick tips to get started. Have a great week, everybody. If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.